Hello, Plainfield. I hope everyone had a happy and safe Easter and everyone remained healthy. Today, we're going to be doing another question and answer session with Mayor Michael Collins, Plainfield Fire Chief John Stratton, and myself, Plainfield Police Chief John Konopek, to answer some of your questions that you've submitted to us over the last week regarding the COVID-19 virus and the COVID-19 pandemic that's going on. So my first question is going to be going to Mayor Collins. And Mayor Collins actually has a statement regarding social distancing. So Mayor?
Good morning, everyone. Like John says, I hope everyone had a pleasant Easter and safe. I just want to remind everybody about the importance of social distancing. It helps us flatten the curve and hopefully to save lives. What does social distancing mean? It means don't have your friends and family over. And I know that's really tough, but during this time, this pandemic, please do that. Please don't let your children play in the playground or play with others in the park. Please stay home unless you have to visit a doctor or the grocery store. And if you do go out, please stay approximately 6 feet away from others. And I want to thank you for your cooperation.
And now I'd like to expand with that with Chief Stratton. So a question regarding social distancing, Chief Stratton, is can you take your whole family shopping?
I can tell you now, as we do even at the fire district, the companies go out and shop, and there could be 3 or 4 on the apparatus, and we only send one guy in also to do their shopping, and they are masked up also. But right now I would say no, just take minimum amount of people from your family to go in there to limit the exposure that this possibly could be in the grocery stores.
Thank you. Some additional questions we received at the police department about social distancing. Can my son still practice his driving for driver's ed? Absolutely he can with a certified adult, but obviously we only want your son and the one adult in the vehicle. And most importantly, we want to make sure that he is practicing safe driving habits. But that is okay for your son or your daughter to practice their driving skills if they're working towards their driver's license through driver's ed. Additionally, what if my neighbors are having a party? What should I do? You should be contacting the Plainfield Police Department. We're going to be going over there and paying them a visit and again explaining to them the hazards of gathering in large groups. People should be staying at home during this time. If a family that lives under the same roof wants to have a party, that's absolutely fine. They can go out in their yard, they can barbecue, they can play games, throw the ball around, as long as they live under the same house. But you don't want to invite people over from other households, other family members over from other households, because that's how the virus spreads. And lastly, the question we get, are we issuing tickets or arresting people that are in violation of this? This is our absolute last resort, and thankfully I want to report that we have not come to that point yet. We've had several encounters where kids are out in playgrounds, adults are out gathering in households, or things along those lines, and once we go up and talk to them and explain again the hazards of the situation, they've been more than willing to go their separate ways, go back to their houses, and things like that. So thankfully we have not had to issue any citations. That is a last resort. But if it ever came to that, yes, we would issue citations. So our next question that was submitted to us, this is for Chief John Stratton. Where do you get the information on confirmed cases, and why can't you not release more information, such as the name and address of a person who has had a positive test for COVID-19?
Good question. I know we've been asked that a lot too at the fire district. I can tell you all of our information comes from the Will County Health Department and the Kendall County Health Department. Pretty much what we get with that is every day we get information on that, and we make sure that our dispatch center knows that those addresses exist out there with a positive patient, and that way our members that are going out there, the first responders, know what they're getting into before they get there. Also, there's a law out there called the HIPAA, and what that does, that protects all the rights and the secrecy of the patient. We want to make sure they are governed underneath that law, so we cannot release that information. And as I mentioned before, with the CDC and the IDPH, when I mentioned HIPAA, that is HIPAA, that's the acronym for it, and it stands for Health, Insurance, Portability, and Accountability Act. and that was a federal law that was enacted in 1996. What it does, it restricts any access to any individual's personal medical records. So that's what HIPAA stands for if you want to look it up. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Another question we received, I have an elderly neighbor that may need assistance. Who can I contact, who can I call to check up on them? Well, we've set up a non-emergency number here, and we have an elderly services unit here at the Plainfield Police Department. If you dial 815-436-2341, that will put you in touch with our elderly services unit. And what they will do is they will contact that person that you're calling about. We'll first try to reach them through phone calls, and if they're fine, then nothing more will be done other than we will continue to check up on them. If we try calling them and there's no response, then we will send a police officer out to that house to check on the person or persons at that address to make sure that they are okay. Next question is for you, Mayor Collins. How is the village board still conducting business or holding their meetings during this time?
The village board still has meetings on the first and third Monday of the month at 7 p.m. This is all done currently by teleconferencing. Public comments are received via email on the day of the meeting, just up till about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The village board, our next meeting is April 20th at 7, and the agenda for that meeting is posted on the village website. Meetings are streamed live on the village website and broadcast also on Channel 6 on Comcast, AT&T, UVerse, Channel 99. Be sure to check the village website for meeting schedules and times and agendas.
Thank you, Mayor. A question that was actually submitted regarding our emergency management agency. You may not have seen them out and may not have heard much about them, but the question submitted is, what has the Plainfield Emergency Management Agency been doing related to the COVID-19 pandemic in conjunction with the village's disaster declaration? The Plainfield Emergency Management Agency is made up of 20 to 25 volunteers that respond out whenever a situation warrants it. Since this pandemic started, the members of our EMA have stopped all training to again make sure that they're not practicing or violating those social distancing. However, that does not mean that they have stopped responding to calls for service. Even before this pandemic became what it is in the state of Illinois, we started meeting in a group with, again, stakeholders from our village, from other groups, the school districts, fire districts, park districts, and also members of our emergency management agency. They have been a key part as far as utilizing our emergency operation plan and incorporating it into our response. Aside from that, they've also been readily available for our typical, if you will, calls for service. Our couple severe weather events that we've had in the last month, they've responded out to conduct their severe weather spotting duties. And also a couple other incidents we've had in town related to car crashes and things like that. They've responded out to assist with traffic control, scene lighting, and other activities. So they're not just dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic, they're still responding to their typical calls for service. But they are an integral part in our emergency response process during this COVID-19 process. So thank you for that question. Our next question for Chief Stratton. What can I do to reduce the chances of my child or children catching the COVID-19 virus?
Pretty much as long as you can keep them within your residence, that's probably the best way. Keep them social distancing, keep them away from anybody else around in the neighborhood, and just kind of keep an eye on them, keep them away from grocery stores. And I can tell you the other thing with grocery stores and even Menards and some of the other big box stores, they're limiting anybody under 16 to even being in there. So I would say pretty much keep an eye on them, keep them at home, keep them safe.
Thank you, Chief. The next question is for Mayor Collins. Mr. Mayor, are restaurants in Plainfield still open, and are there any restrictions?
There's a number of restaurants still open. The Chamber has got 2 Facebook pages, one for shopping and one for restaurants that have takeout and delivery. These are great pages to see what businesses and restaurants are offering curbside takeouts and delivery. You can pick up breakfast, lunch, and dinner from your favorite restaurant. They're often convenient curbside pickup, and look for these to-go signs around town. You can also pick up craft beer and wine to go from your favorite restaurants. However, per state law, you may not pick up spirits. If you would like spirits, please go to a local liquor store, and then you can support two businesses, one to eat and one to have your cocktail. I would recommend you to try and support your local restaurants because they really need their business during this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And the last question that was submitted to us. Should I be worried about scams, especially with the stimulus checks being distributed soon? Well, as you've heard in the media, the stimulus checks could be coming out as soon as this week, but definitely will be starting to be distributed over the next couple weeks. So there are a few key bullet points that you should be aware of regarding these stimulus checks and just scams in general. First of all, if you filed taxes for 2019 or 2018, you do not need to do anything else to be eligible for the stimulus checks. If you used direct deposit to receive your tax refund in the past, it will be directly deposited into your account. And they're saying by April 17th. That's the date that we've heard. The IRS will not be contacting you by telephone or email reference the stimulus check. If you receive a call or some type of email correspondence requesting information in order for you to receive the check, it is a scam. So either hang up on that phone call or just delete that email immediately. That is a scam. A few weeks after the checks are sent, the IRS will send a notification via mail to everyone advising them where the payment ended up. If someone did not receive a check and it shows you should have, you need to contact the IRS. At this point, any other inquiries citizens receive reference stimulus funding in which they are required to provide personal information, such as your social security number or banking information, you should immediately hang up the phone or delete the email. They will never ask for that information over the phone or through email. And your essential service providers such as ComEd, NICOR, other service providers like that have waived any late fees, and they will not be turning off service for unpaid bills. They never request payments utilizing prepaid cards. So if you ever get a call or an email asking you to go buy a prepaid card, that is a scam. Any inquiries demanding payments or threatening to turn off service should immediately be considered a scam at this point. If you have any questions regarding whether something is legitimate or a scam, please don't hesitate to reach out to the Plainfield Police Department and we will help you with that question. Those are all the questions we have for today. Thank you for submitting them. We'll continue to accept questions. If there's plenty of questions that will be out there, so please continue to submit them to either the Plainfield Police Department, the Village of Plainfield website, or the Plainfield Fire Protection District website as well. Thank you. Please remain practicing social distancing and please stay healthy.